Hi, Red Rangers. This is Miss Harvey, and I'm going to read this informational article to you. Noticing mistakes boosts learning. Children who pay close attention to mistakes improve skills more quickly, studies show. In this informational text, Alice Pierce Stevens discusses a study by a psychologist, Hans Schroeder, about what happens when we make mistakes. While making a mistake might feel like a negative experience, noticing these mistakes could be the key to learning. As you read, take notes on how growth mindset and fixed mindset impact children when they make mistakes. So we already know that this is an informational article because it says it right here. So it's going to give us some information about something. Keep in mind what you did for the warm-up and how we talked about a growth mindset and a fixed mindset. Fixed mindset is going to be something where it's like a straight line. If you make a mistake, then that's kind of where you stay. A growth mindset is you learn from those mistakes and you build up on that. You build up on those mistakes. So I'm going to start in paragraph 1. Mistakes get a bad rap. People often brush them aside by saying, "I'll do better next time." But students who pay close attention to their mistakes actually do learn a task faster than kids who ignore them. Focusing on what went wrong helps us learn, and new study shows. Hans Schroeder is a psychologist at Michigan State University in East Lansing. He and his team wanted to know how people's brains respond to mistakes. People can ignore a mistake by simply pretending it never happened, or they can mull over it. So mull over it just means that they can dwell on it, that they're like, "Oh, I made this mistake. I can't believe I did that. I'm so stupid." They just never really get over it. They can try to figure out what went wrong and where Schroeder suspected that which response people chose might strongly affect how well they learn. So in this paragraph, to find out, the team recruited 123 children, all 6 to 8 years old. This is an important time in a child's life. It is when most kids are beginning school. How well they do in school can be related to their mindset about learning and intelligence. So you have this psychologist from Michigan State University, and what he is doing, he wants to see how the brain's responds to making mistakes, and if people ignore them or if they acknowledge them and grow from it. And so what he does is he takes a team, him and his team take 123 children. They do this experiment to study their brain. So we're up here in paragraph 4. A mindset is a particular attitude about a situation. Students who have a fixed mindset tend to believe that they are born with a certain level of intelligence. They don't believe it can ever change. Students with a growth mindset, however, think they can get smarter through hard work. Scientists have shown that this mindset can affect how well students learn. Paragraph 5. To figure out whether each child has a fixed or a growth mindset, Schroeder asked the recruits a series of questions. He then put a special cap on each child's head. The cap held 64 small sensors called electrodes. The cap held these against the child's scalp and recorded electrical signals as they sparked between a child's brain cells. This let Schroeder spy on patterns of activity inside each child's brain. And so Schroeder he wants to see what the brain is doing whenever these kids, these 6 to 8-year-olds, make that mistake. And so he puts this little cap on their head to be able to study their brain and see how the brain reacts. While wearing the cap, children played a computer game. In it, they rounded up animals that had escaped from a zoo. Players had to press the space bar when they saw one of the escaped critters, but the game came with a twist. 3 orangutans were also helping round up the animals. When players saw the orangutans, they were not supposed to press the space bar. The children can make 2 kinds of mistakes, either responding when they shouldn't or not responding when they should. As they played, the electrodes recorded their brain activity. So the paragraph just talks about the experiment that they did and how they incorporated this video game and had where kids either there was two kinds of mistakes that they can make. And then they had those little caps on their head, so they were able to track their brain activity. When Schroeder examined the data, he found a clear pattern. Small regions of the brain responded in the children who had a fixed mindset. Each response lasted about just 150 milliseconds. The brain of children with a growth mindset showed much more activity. What's more, a larger network of areas responded, and those areas did so for longer periods, up to 500 milliseconds. This shows that these brains were paying attention to mistakes, Schroeder says. So you can see in the kids that had that growth mindset, it nearly doubled it doubled. It was twice the amount as the kids with the fixed mindset. So in this paragraph, children with growth mindsets were also better at bouncing back after their mistakes. They were more likely to get the next trial right, Schroeder says. It was almost as if the children with growth mindsets were willing to engage with their mistakes in order to correct them. In contrast, those with fixed mindsets wanted to ignore their mistakes. So again, you see the difference here with the children with the growth mindset and the children with the fixed mindset. The children with the growth mindsets were more willing to learn from their mistakes and usually would get the next trial right, whereas the kids that ignored their mistakes and kind of had that fixed mindset, they just went on and didn't really correct them. His team results appear in the April issue of Developmental Cognitive Neuroscience. The research demonstrates one way that the growth mindsets help you learn more, says Allison Master. She's a psychologist at the University of Washington in Seattle. She was not involved with the study. When you face your mistakes and are ready to learn from them, she says, then you can get better over time. But if you run away from your mistakes and try to ignore them, you'll never improve. And so I think this last sentence really sums up the growth mindset and the fixed mindset. And so she says, when you face your mistakes head on, you see where you can improve. You get better over time. That's what the growth mindset is. You get better over time at something, whatever it may be. But if you run away or just ignore your mistakes, you don't really improve. You just stay where you're at. All right, guys. So good luck on your test today. If you have any questions, please let any of us ELA teachers know. You are all rock stars, and we will talk soon.